honorable member for Thousand Lights, my friend Dr. L.N. Naganathan, the director of LIBA, Professor Joe Arun, senior IS officer Thiagarajan Verma, handsome CEO Thiagarajan Ramanathan, Mr. Surana, distinguished panelists, entrepreneurs, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Thank you for inviting me to this very exciting and innovative Muyarchi attempt, which I'm sure will turn out to be a forerunner and a trendsetter for other such things to come. Because we're in the middle of budget preparations, and I have to present that on Monday, and I have some preview meetings with the Honorable Chief Minister, I'm going to speak briefly and run. But I thought this is a good opportunity for me to talk about 2 or 3 major trends, not just based on my role as a minister today, but based on my understanding of history a little bit, and also about my 30 years or so as an expatriate in many fields, largely in the capital markets. So first, of course, many people have spoken about our history. About 10 days ago or less, the Honorable Chief Minister inaugurated the museum the government has built in Keeladi. And we went through a lot of the artifacts and the exhibits, and there were, as many people have stated, coins from many lands, including a golden coin. There were actually silver stamped coins that were not issued by any king, but by traders who were using those as collateral markers. So imagine the extent of commerce in a society where individuals were writing basically their, what we would call letters of credit or counterparty credit notes back 2,000 plus years ago and stamping it on silver. In that great tradition we have come as entrepreneurs, as traders, as globalists. And so, what we are trying to do today is recapture some of the glory. Some of you may remember or know that at one point, not so many long years ago, maybe a few hundred years ago, India used to be about 40% of the world's GDP. Now, we're a very small fraction, but we are in the right direction as a country, particularly as a state, and our Chief Minister has given us this ambition that requires something like a real, that is adjusted for inflation, compound annual growth rate of about 10-11%, if it's 2030. It's certainly doable. We've done it in the past for 5 years when the DMK regime was there between 2006 and 11. But what it will require is a lot of extra governmental effort. There is only so much that the government can do. Even in a relatively democratic, open market society, the role of the government is limited to 4 or 5 core things as far as economic activity is concerned. The first is to provide the right environment, to provide a calm, stable, law-abiding, level playing field, access to capital markets kind of environment. In particular, in a country like India, or most developing countries where there's a lot of rent-seeking behavior and kind of interference, to improve ease of doing business, to reduce human touch, to reduce bureaucratic barriers, to ensure that whoever has the spirit and the intent gets to execute, and then let the market or let efficient frontier outcomes determine who succeeds and who fails. The third is around providing the right human capital, ensuring that from education, from a skill training, from a language perspective, our 2-language policy is a huge asset to us as we participate in the global economy, and to ensure that institutions like LIBA or other specialist institutions are provided the right kind of support. At the high end, I mean, like the IITs and IIMs. Then we get into financing. Because we have a lot of nationalized banks, we do a lot of credit as well. Since our government came to power, I have been attending every single state-level bankers committee meeting, which I think is the first time a minister has attended every quarter. We coordinate much more effectively with the banks. I'm very happy to say the banks have greatly stepped up their participation, particularly in the MSME, in the SHG, in the low-level lending. We track that every quarter, and we are seeing really good flow of credit. Also, the government can provide its own equity funding, which is, again, kind of an innovative frontier, but we have taken that up both through the TNI FMC, which I chair, where the Emerging Sector Seed Fund is one of the funds we run, as well as through initiatives like TANSIM, also like the special fund for SCST entrepreneurs, where we take equity stakes and align incentives. I think this is the wave of the future. I think we're a few steps ahead of many people, because I think government has serious limitations in its ability to execute enterprise. Most of the government enterprises today, it's very hard to say whether they exist for the sake of customers or the public, or they exist to fund the labor costs and the pension costs. That's where the break-even model is these days. So we need to work with entrepreneurs, with people in the private sector who are held accountable to market pressures and efficient frontier kind of balances. And so we work with them in every way we can. In particular, I'm very proud of an initiative that I got started about a year and a half ago, which is the Sell to Government Day, because I saw so many startups that were producing goods and services that the government of Tamil Nadu could use, and they were on the innovative frontier. So what we did was we changed the Transparency in Tenders Act, and we allowed up to 50 lakhs worth of purchases from innovative companies that don't yet have competitors or a track record, so we don't have to go for competitive bidding. And we can buy from startups up to that size for services that we can directly use. And we are using them right now, for example, in drone technology for evaluating or appraising properties for rental, for property tax. We are using them for IoT cooking for the free breakfast program at the pilot phase, and so many other instances. So I think this ability to fund as well as purchase the services of is a powerful combination that I think the government will scale up significantly going forward. And events like this can help us identify better candidates for that. Let me say that different states have different models of development. I am in New Delhi day after tomorrow at the India Today conclave with the former chairman of Niti Aayog, Amitabh Kant, talking about different models of development. And I make the point every conclave I go to that there is a very, very great difference between a Gujarat model of development, which seems to be the model adopted at the union government today, and the Tamil Nadu model of development. One is a very supply side focus only on the aggregate outcome, never mind the disparity, never mind the Gini coefficient, never mind that 50% of girls under 18 are not in school, and rely on a few national champions, who are your usual crony capitalists, to drive growth. They achieve growth. I'm not denying that. How they achieve it and what the other consequences are. Whereas there's a much more inclusive, socially balanced, participative kind of growth that we have in Tamil Nadu, in particular in the MSME space, where we have about 50,000 more MSMEs. We have the highest number of employees in industries and manufacturing, and where 40% of all the women in all of India, 40% of the women engaged in manufacturing are in Tamil Nadu alone. That's indicative of our way of growth. Anyway, let me conclude by saying that I think it is a wonderful time to be a startup or to be a MSME. If you look at the long trajectory of development, we went around the world from being an agrarian economy, well, nomadic to agrarian, agrarian to industrialized, industrialized to more technology oriented. But that shift has happened in ways that always favored the large capitalists, right from the times of Karl Marx. The returns to capital always exceeded the returns to labor. Those who were able to string together $5 or $10 billion could build big mines or big factories and then yield great returns that individuals could not get. After a while, that shifted. In my own career, I saw that in my 20s and 30s, the fastest way to become rich was to sit in a big investment bank or a big private equity or venture capital fund, sit on mountains of capital that centuries of development had created, and then you could get kind of the rent for sitting on those large pools of capital. I'm happy to say that in my adult lifetime, I've seen that shift. Now the fastest way to get rich, at least for the last 15, 20 years, is not in banking, is not in private equity, is not in hedge funds. It's in technology, because you can scale technology infinitely, and we are in effectively a huge global market. Never mind that the broader globalization cycles come and go. There was, the Roman Empire, there was the age of colonialism, waxed and waned. Now we were in a hyper-globalized world. Now there's been a bit of a pullback the last 5-10 years. But as far as technology goes, it's still one big global market, and the access to the latest innovation is readily available. And so I genuinely believe that in terms of the ability to either start or scale enterprises, today you have unprecedented opportunity as a small entrepreneur compared to any other time in history. And you don't need as much capital, and you don't need to have, like a lot of regulatory arbitrage like some of the big crony capitalists. If you have a good idea, good technology, reasonable access to, some capital, you can actually scale significantly well. So having said all that, that's all theory. In practice, it takes a lot of things. It takes mentorship. It takes ecosystem of support. It takes the many different initiatives the government of Tamil Nadu has. And so I want to greatly congratulate and thank my colleague in the House, the MLA here, Dr. L. Naganathan, for putting together such an innovative approach, bringing together entrepreneurs, a platform like Liba that has the kind of depth of knowledge and the application orientation, the entrepreneurs, the capital, the government. And I hope that A, this will be very successful, and B, it will provide a template for the rest of the state. So I wish all of you entrepreneurs here much success, good fortune. I thank again all our officers of the government of Tamil Nadu and its various initiatives who are here to participate. Most of all, I congratulate the organizers, starting with my friend, the MLA. And I thank you.
Please like and share பண்ணுங்க மறக்காம எங்க சேனலை subscribe பண்ணுங்க.